What is up, people? It is me, Monster58. Welcome back to another video review. Today we are going to be taking a look at the Transformers Studio Series 86 Deluxe Class Autobot Perceptor with essentially Core Class Ratbat and Core Class Ramhorn. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. This is a set I was initially sort of skeptical of, and the reason being is because when you get to these new sort of paint job stuff like the Dramatic Capture series and like that Autobot 5 pack, we're talking about like a Studio Series 86 Blaster. More or less, it's just a straight up repaint. You know, they just do a more cartoon accurate repaint and then they just repackage the figure and they're like, hey, here's that figure again for those of you who didn't get it with a better paint job and everything like that, more accurate, obviously, to the 86 movie. And so when I saw this, I was like, do I really need a new Perceptor? Because I think everyone can also agree that the original SS86 Deluxe Class Perceptor was a fantastic figure and is pretty much everybody's like Deluxe Class Perceptor, if not their representation of Perceptor that they've had in their collection for the past few years now. However, when I did look closely at this Perceptor and I actually watched videos on it too, I realized this is more than just a repaint and that there's actual sort of more physically like cartoon accurate improvements to this figure rather than just being a straight up repaint. And also because it includes Ramhorn as well as Ratbat. Now, the set I will definitely be comparing this to will be that Soundwave Leader Class set that had Buzzsaw and Rumble in it. And we'll talk about that when we're talking about the inclusion of both Ramhorn and Ratbat here, which we'll get into when we get into the review. I just wanted to preface it by saying that that was how this is going to go. And so to take a look at the box here, you can see the box. Very nice Transformers Studio Series. This is the MTE collection. Transformers the movie, obviously Studio Series 86. We got the Autobot Perceptor, Ratbat, as well as Ramhorn. And then we have the Transformers Studio Series, Transformers the movie on this side. Some more nice artwork here of Perceptor. Obviously the nice artwork here of Ratbat, Perceptor, as well as Ramhorn. And then finally on the back, your obligatory product shots. We got Perceptor in the movie, obviously, as he was shown in there. And so with the box, I think it actually looks cool with all this sort of new, sort of exclusive graphics that they did. And so without further ado, folks, alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, here we have the Transformers Studio Series 86 Deluxe Class Perceptor with essentially Core Class Ramhorn as well as Ratbat out of the box. And I gotta say, guys, this is an awesome set in my opinion, and we'll get into why exactly. And I actually definitely think it is worth the 35 bucks, so essentially a Voyager class price point. But before we take a look at Perceptor himself, let's take a look at both Ramhorn as well as Ratbat. So we'll set Perceptor off to the side here. So first off, taking a look at Ramhorn, you can see he does look pretty cool. This very sort of like rust color, right? Which is very accurate to how he appeared in the show and stuff like that. So really, really nice, and nice to have Blaster's other, his other cassette in there, right? So really, really cool. Got some nice detail here across the board. Autobot logos are a bit tough to see because at the end of the day, there's no outline on them, so they kind of just blend in with the very sort of reddy rust color that he is. But you do have the nice gray here, the silver, you can see that as well. On the back here, does look pretty fine. Overall, I mean, as a cassette, I mean, these cassettes, they're different, so they're all going to end up looking whether as good as a cassette as whether their, animal modes are going to be, will they be able to fold very nicely into this? And for the most part, I think Ramhorn actually looks like relatively decent as a cassette overall. And then we're going to take a look at Ratbat here in this cassette mode. Obviously, Ratbat looks a bit worse just because it's harder to cover up, all sort of the robot bits here. But he does look cool. You can see the face right there. We'll talk about that when we get into the Bat mode. But this does look really cool. You can see the silver there, obviously, for the screws. But this is a very nice molded in detail. I do like the color as well. Maybe he should be a little bit more purplish rather than magenta, but I don't remember seeing. It's been a long time since I've actually seen Ratbat in the show, so he absolutely could be this color. Maybe I'm wrong. I assume I am wrong. But he does look really, really good regardless. So I'm fine with this. The cassette mode of the two is obviously the worst of these guys, so just want to point that out. So what we're going to do is we're just going to compare both of them to Steeljaw here. So when we look at Steeljaw, yeah, they're about the same. I think you set them on the side. Yeah, they're about the same size here, which is obviously they have to, but you can see the difference with Steeljaw here in comparison to both Ratbat as well as Ramhorn. But just wanted to bring in Steeljaw because obviously he's one of Blaster's 3 cassettes. And obviously, Ramhorn and Steeljaw kind of have like that duo thing next to Eject. So wanted to show that. But yeah, when comparing these guys, they're perfectly fine in terms of their size. And so we're going to talk about their transformations. So when we get into their transformations, they're rather simple. Ratbat, in my opinion, is more simple than Ramhorn. But we'll set Ratbat off to the side, and then we'll do Ramhorn first. So for Ramhorn, you're going to fold these out like so. And then you're going to fold these out as well. A little tough if you don't have any nails or something like that. I'd recommend like a pen or a pencil if you need it. Then from here, you have to pull the head out, and this is probably the most annoying bit. Well, you can probably fold these down. That might make it easier to grab the. Actually, I'll just do this. Then we'll flip the horn up, and then we'll just grab the horn, and then we'll lift that up. Yeah, like that's way easier, like that. And then, ladies and gentlemen, here we basically have Ramhorn in his little rhinoceros mode. He does look really good, pretty accurate to the show, but obviously he's a bit chunkier. But overall, looks really cool. I'm very happy with how he looks. I will more than likely be having him displayed in his Ram mode. You can see the nice head with the eye right there, looks cool, and then all that detail that you saw in the cassette mode obviously comes out here. And so what we're going to show you is the accessory he comes with. So he comes with this little accessory, which Perceptor can actually use. This is obviously his signature weapon. So you have some nice molded in detail right here, some decent around here, and then you have the gold for those missile launchers, which looks pretty awesome. And so the way you clip this in is this bit will essentially go right here. And then what you'll see is that there are tabs on either side of the missiles, and then you just tab those in to the slots here on the side. And here is Ramhorn's signature look, and he looks really cool. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I have no major issues with this at all. Sure, he's a bit chunky, but overall for a cassette, I think he looks really solid. So articulation wise, the head can go up and down like so. A mouth can't open, which is a bit of a shame. Head can go up and down, and then the legs can just go back and forth as they were for transformation. So overall, when it comes to Ramhorn, I'm pretty happy with him. I'm just happy to have him as the cassette, because obviously now we have Steeljaw, we have Ramhorn, and we have Eject, so we have all three of Blaster's main cassettes. I think that's all of his cassettes, right? So really happy with him. So we're just going to set him right here for the time being, and then we're going to bring in a little Ratbat here. So Ratbat's transformation is really simple as well. So all you have to do, fold these out like this. Rotate them out, take the feet, fold them down, and then you can push the head forward a little bit. And there, that's Ratbat in his bat mode. He looks really cool. He's absolutely the widest of all of the cassettes just because he's, well, a bat. And then for the articulation, he's obviously, you can just do this. But taking a look at the head, you can see the head looks really cool. Nice red eyes, nice purple for the center, and then nice sort of magenta-y color for the rest of his face. Nice mouth as well in the nose. It looks really nice. Looks pretty solid on the back. I do like how he looks. And the little feet also look cute. You can see little feet right there. Gray for the chest, and then you have a little bit Decepticon logo right there, but it's really hard to see because it blends in with the gray because there's no outline on it. But overall, when it comes to Ratbat, I think he looks good. And so his accessory, the way you do this is you have to flip this little bit up and straight up like this, and you can see that that'll be on his back. And then when you come down here, you will grab this, and then you can see that there is a tab hole right there. Now this can be used for, so Perceptor can wield it, but you want to put it on his back in the way that these bits are, the wing bits are facing up. And by the way, let's take a look at it. It looks really solid. I really do like how it looks. The molded in detail is great, and the color looks really cool. So the way you put this on, like I said, is you just tab it into that hole like so. And then you have Ratbat with his little jetpack here, and that's pretty cute. And I think that this guy looks really good as well. I think Ramhorn looks a bit better because I think it blends. I don't know. I like the contrast of this gold with the rust color way better than I do with this gold with the magenta purples and stuff like that. But overall, when it comes to this, I think it still looks really good. And so these two look really solid. I'm really happy with this. And the reason I am is because, like I said, the set I'm going to be comparing this to is mainly going to be the Soundwave set that had Buzzsaw as well as Rumble in it, and that was a leader class set. And keep in mind, Soundwave was a Voyager class figure, and so you're looking at $35 just for Soundwave, right? And so a leader class figure, even at the time when it was released, was still around 55, maybe $60 after tax. And so when you take that into account, and then you take into account that that would mean that essentially Rumble and Rumble and Buzzsaw would be worth each about $10. That's when I have a hard time like justifying it, which is why, funnily enough, I did buy that set, but you never saw a review on my channel. Why? Because I returned it. I didn't think it was worth it because the only cassette I need right now is, I believe, Buzzsaw, and I'm not going to pay for a $55 figure, in my opinion, that's worse than the Dramatic Capture Series Soundwave. I think it just looks better too. The silver on his forearms and his legs looks a lot better. I'm not going to pay that much extra just for Buzzsaw. because I'm not going to use that sound wave. So what's the point? So I returned it to Big Bad Toy Store because I'm like, I'm not going to have this. So the only cassette I'm missing is Buzzsaw. If I can buy Buzzsaw on his own, I would totally do that. Maybe I can find it on eBay somewhere. But when I'm looking at this set, it makes a lot more sense because Perceptor, in my opinion, Perceptor was already a deluxe class figure, right? And so you're paying an extra 10 or so bucks for both Ramhorn as well as Ratbat, which means they're about $5 a piece. And I think when you're taking that into account, that absolutely makes a lot more sense. And that's why I genuinely think, I'll tell you right now, I think the set's worth it because I do think that each of these two guys here are worth about 5 buckaroos. And so I'm really happy that, in my opinion, when you're comparing this set to the Soundwave set, this set is just better in terms of value, in my opinion, because these two would be worth less, but at the same time, that's about, in my opinion, how much they'd be worth-ish anyway. So to have, a deluxe class figure at 25 bucks, and then you add both of these guys together, which is about 10 bucks because you get the 35 for the full set, I honestly think these two being both worth 5 bucks ends up working really well for the value of the set, and I'm really, really happy with it. The last thing I'll obviously show is going to be Steeljaw here, so we're just going to put Steeljaw actually right there in front of them. And you can see these two look really good together. We'll just get Ratbat off to the side here. And you can see Steeljaw and Ramhorn look really, really good together. I'm really, really happy that we finally have sort of this dynamic duo. Obviously, I don't have Eject on me, which does suck a bit, but at the end of the day, I do really think that these two are fantastic together. And then obviously, Ratbat there in the back. I think these two as a whole are really, really worth it for this set. And so, what we're going to do is we're going to get these guys out of the way, and we're going to bring in Perceptor. Now, the nice thing is I do have the original SS86 Deluxe Class Perceptor, so I'll be able to show you the differences between that Perceptor as well as the new one. And so, without further ado, folks, let's bring in the main man. Alrighty, folks, here we have the Transformers Studios Series 86 Deluxe Class Perceptor in the Ramhorn and Ratbat set out of the box, and I gotta say, this guy looks really, really good. In my opinion, this is where I am also seeing the value in the fact that this whole set is worth about 35, 40 maybe-ish bucks after tax, is because of this guy as well. Not only do you get the cassettes with Ramhorn as well as Ratbat, but you do get sort of the more visual improvements in relation to cartoon accuracy for this Perceptor. So, what I'm going to do is we're actually going to set this guy off to the side here, and we're going to bring in the original so that I can show you guys all of the differences between these two. Alright, and here's the original on your right. The new one is on your left, so just keep that in mind as we're going through. So what you can see here, I don't know how well this comes across on camera. It actually comes across pretty well. The red is much more darker and vibrant compared to this one. This one is still vibrant, but it's definitely muted in comparison to this one. The other thing that you can see is that the chest bit here is not clear plastic on the new one, while it is on the old one. And so when we flip up the chest here, you have the Autobot logo here now that's painted on here because obviously they can't, you can't see anything. So they only painted the Autobot logo on this one on the inside only because obviously it was already transparent plastic because of that. What you can also see here is the difference in the blues and the grays. So here on the feet you can see, that comes across, or what will become the feet from the microscope mode. You can see this is gray, the new one on the left, and this is much more of a traditional black color. You can also see that where the hands are, so these are gray, these are just still blue to blend it in more well, but I think that the contrast is nice here. And then the other thing you'll see is that you see the pegs where the chest pegs into, these are also like this darker rust color, and then these are just the red color. The last thing that I notice when it comes to one of the differences is when you look on the inside of here where the arms tab in, there's just a singular tab for the new one. Meanwhile, for this one, the tab was much larger. You can see how much larger that tab is in comparison to the new one. I don't know how well you can see that. You can see the differences in the tabs there. In addition to that, the bigger and more important thing that we have to discuss is regarding Perceptor's chest, actually. If you look closely, and you'll see this in robot mode, the chest on the new one, what will become his chest, is wider. You can see this is a bit, if I put you straight on, you can see this marker here. There's a lot less of this indent that you can see here in comparison to this one. You can see the difference in the chest. And again, I'll show you in robot mode the actual major difference. Now, this comes with benefits as well as one drawback. So, as you guys know, Perceptor not only has his his microscope mode, which by the way, I'm gonna say it does still looks really good, and I think it looks better with the vibrant colors here. He also has a tank mode. Alrighty, folks, I apologize for the disjointedness of this cut, but I forgot to record the size comparisons between Perceptor, the new Perceptor, in his microscope mode in comparison to the other figures that I have currently on me, and so we're gonna do that right now. Alrighty, here he is with the Transformers Legacy United Infernac Universe Deluxe Class Magnus. As you can see, obviously, Perceptor being a microscope, he's going to be completely out of scale for an actual microscope in comparison to something like, a car or something like that. But overall, when it comes to the actual deluxe size, he fits it quite well. I actually think he's a little bit chunkier than the average deluxe because he has to be, because Perceptor was obviously one of the bigger Autobots in general. And so it's nice to see that. So overall, I am not too mad about the size. Here he is with Studio Series 86 Bumblebee. Here he is with Studio Series 86 Deluxe Class Bumblebee. And finally, because I have him on me, Studio Series 86 Commander Class Optimus Prime. And even though you may say it's a fan mode, it's clearly intended given the fact that they made the pegs for it. And so to get it into his tank mode, for the original, you would simply, we're going to remove the gun, and actually we'll just show the guns off right now real quick. For the guns, you can see the new one's much darker to match the more vibrant, deeper red here on the new Perceptor, and meanwhile this one is still the brighter one. So we'll set these off to the side for now. But to get it into his tank mode, what you would do is you would essentially like fold this down. This would go up. Then what you would do is you would rotate these all the way around, and then you see these pegs here on the side, right? They would peg into these on either side, and then you would have a very simple but cool tank mode. And the other reason it's very much intentional is just due to the fact that there are tank treads that are molded on the bottoms of Perceptors, on the back of Perceptor's legs, so you can see the tank treads right there. And there's this little tank mode, and it does look really, really good, and I'm really happy that the fact that they included that to begin with. But when you're considering this one, because the chest is a bit wider, the whole figure is also just a little bit wider, which means that the clearance for these pegs isn't quite the best. So again, you fold this down, then you fold this out like this, and then you rotate these all the way around. You still can kind of peg them in, but as you can see, because it is a bit wider, the legs get pushed out more, and because of that, these don't peg in as securely, even when I push the arm all the way in. You can see. Yeah, and you kind of just have to, you can kind of peg them in there, but they essentially kind of just rest there now rather than actually used for the tank. And you can see how this part is just wider, right? You can see the difference in how wide these two are. Let me see if I can show it like this. Yeah, you can see the difference right there. It's just ever so slightly wider to the point where the legs will not peg in quite well anymore. You can, and I've gotten in it several times, but sometimes they just, yeah, you can see that just kind of bounces out on the new one. And that's a bit of a casualty of the new sort of molding that they did for this figure. It's not the end all be all, because I doubt most people will keep Perceptor in his tank mode, but it does compromise that to a degree, and so that's a little bit of a shame. But overall, I still do think it is really cool. So what we can see here too is that, I don't know how well you can see that, Perceptor's, like, his microscope looks to be ever so slight. I have to compare them. No, okay. Initially, because maybe it's ever so slightly longer. Yeah, it is. What I'm trying to say is, like, if you look ever so slightly, the new Perceptor, his microscope lens is ever so slightly longer than the old one. And you can see, obviously, the black is different from the grays here on the new one. You can see that here, too. The black here and then the gray here. So now you can see the major differences between both of the old Perceptor and the current new Perceptor that we have with this set. And so I'm actually going to show the transformation because I never reviewed the original one because that was before I was reviewing figures. And so I'll show the transformation because it's simple enough and it's not going to take very long. And so we're going to set the regular Perceptor off to the side here for a second, and we're going to bring in the new one. So for the transformation from his like tank mode into his robot mode, it's really, really simple. So what we're going to do is we're going to unpeg these, and then what you want to do is rotate these down, rotate this around, then rotate it so that the feet are facing the front. Do the same thing here. Rotate this around so that this is facing the front. Rotate this around, rotate this down, then all you have to do is fold the feet out. Then at the top here, we're going to bring the camera back up a little bit here. To do that, so you're going to fold both of these down. You're going to fold both of these down, like so. Then you're going to take the microscope lens and then you're just going to fold it up like so on this hinge. Then you just rotate this up and then you'll see that there is a peg right there, and then this will clip in right into this section here. So add that little peg and then it'll just clip into that section. Then you can rotate the arm around and rotate it down. Same thing here, just rotate it up and then just clip it into place. Rotate it around, rotate it down, and then just fold the hands out like so. And then the next thing you will do is come here to the back, fold this out, fold the head out, fold this back in like so. And ladies and gentlemen, here we have the new Studio Series 86 Deluxe Class Perceptor with Ramhorn and Ratbat in his really, really amazing looking robot mode. And so when it comes to his robot mode, you can see in his robot mode, this is where Perceptor definitely has his differences, mainly in the chest area, and I'll definitely point this out. So to complete his look, obviously just take the gun, and then you can just place it in his hand like so. So when we're taking a look at Perceptor, well, we're going to set him off to the side here, and we're going to compare him to the original one. And here's the original. Now it's hard to see his face. I'll end up showing it. But one of the big differences is if you go here on the back, that step with this part does not exist because there is no back filler for the original Perceptor. So really, really nice to see that on here. Obviously, you can see the major differences when it comes to his the colors in the blue. In addition, now you can see the size in the chest. What you can see here is that this chest is a bit bigger. So you can see the little red that's showing off to the side here on the new Perceptor. You can see that right there. And you can see this is a little bit wider as well. When you go to this Perceptor, this is a little bit thinner and there's no red on the outside of his shoulder, on the outside of his chest, because they improved it, and this is absolutely more cartoon accurate overall, so when we look at Perceptor in that way, so really, really nice on that front. And the last bit, obviously, I showed a lot of the other differences already, but the other difference I'd like to show is the face. So we're looking at the original Perceptor. He's got the silver and the yellow. It looks really, really good overall, but it's more gold than yellow. It does look solid. Like, I have no major complaints about the face on the original one, because it was a really good figure. But when you look at the face on the new one, this is definitely in that vein of like that Autobot 5-pack. It's much more flat, but it's much more cartoon accurate with the yellow, the blue. Everything does just look more accurate on the new one in terms of cartoon accuracy. And so overall, both of them are really good figures, and you will not go wrong by having this in your collection. I also see that these grays are not the same on the chest either. You can see this is much more flat gray. This is much more silvery, beigey gray on that end. But you will not go wrong with either figure. But if I had to tell you to choose one of the two, absolutely would be this one. And even with Ramhorn and Ratbat here, I honestly think that he is the better and superior figure just because of that fact. The only part about this figure that wasn't, in my opinion, improved at all, which does suck, is this part, and that's the fact that he does have no gap fillers here still for his forearms here. But I guess that is a tragedy of still being a deluxe figure. They couldn't quite fit that into the budget. But overall, for the other improvements, I think they did some really good improvements on this figure when it comes to how he visually looks, representative of his cartoon accuracy. So I have no major complaints with it, and I think he looks really, really good. Alrighty guys, with the original Perceptor out of the way, it is time to do the size comparisons with other figures. And so, we're going to keep Perceptor right there. Here he is with the Transformers Legacy United and Fernac Universe Deluxe Class Magnus. As you can see, average deluxe size, but he is a bit bigger because he's a bigger Autobot. As you know, when it comes to the classes these days, it doesn't really represent the actual size of the figure anymore, more represents the level of engineering and effort put into the figure as a whole. Here he is with Studio Series 86 Deluxe Class Bumblebee. And finally, the leader, Studio Series 86 Commander Class Optimus Prime. Alrighty guys, and the last thing I'll show before we get into the articulation is going to be the integration of Ratbat and Ramhorn's accessories into Perceptor's robot mode, and it's pretty simple. So of course you do have a lot of 5mm ports, so you can peg some stuff on the back, but for the most part, the way that this works is with Ratbats, you can just rotate these around like so, something like this, right? And then you can just peg that into Perceptor's hand like so, because it's just a simple 5mm port. So overall, it's okay. It doesn't look all that great. I mean, you can flip them around if you want, and these would be like more goodness, sort of like guns. This would be better here. But at the end of the day, it's kind of just lame, and I really do think that it's just better to just put it on Ratbat and just leave it there. I do like how Perceptor can hold it, but at the end of the day, it just, it's not all that cool in my opinion. So we'll remove that, get that out of the way. I think Ramhorn's is a little bit better. So you just unpeg those from Ramhorn as you did before. and then very simply just peg those in like that, and then there is your like other weapon. It looks funky, just looks good on Ramhorn as a whole, so we're gonna leave that as is. And there's nothing really else to say about that. But I'm not the biggest fan of how the weapons integrate into his robot mode. It's just like I like him with just his gun, and that's all he really needs. So when it comes to his accessories and the Ratbat and Ramhorn's accessories and their integration into his robot mode, they're all right. Just not my cup of tea. And finally, his articulation. And Perceptor has really solid articulation. Not amazing, but very average, but it still works really well. So, head is on the ball joint, so you can look a little bit down and a little bit up, but not really. You can do full 360, which is nice, though, so that's pretty cool. Then from here, you have full 360 at the shoulder. You go out, you go in. You have a bend here at the elbow, about 90 degrees. You have a rotation here at the upper part of the bicep. And then you have a rotation here at the waist, full 360, which is always very welcome. Kick forward, you can kick back. You have a little more than 90 here at the knee. You have a rotation in the upper part of the thigh, and then you do have wicked ankle rocker pivot. So this guy can get some really wide poses, some pretty solid overall. Now, Perceptor isn't a character with dynamic poses, but at the end of the day, it is really nice to see that this guy has really solid articulation overall, and what we would expect from a figure nowadays. Alright folks, and it's time for the reverse transformation. Now we're going to actually do the reverse transformations of the cassettes, because that's one thing that kind of slipped my mind when we were doing the overviews of them. So, very simply, you can take Ramhorn, and we'll just remove these, take this out of the way, then we will fold the back feet down first, then the front feet. Then you can just rotate this up, fold the horn in, and then rotate this around. There you have Ramhorn back in his very nice cassette mode. Then we can set this guy off to the side. For Ratbat, remove this part, set those off to the side, fold the little feet up, fold these in, rotate these around like so, and then you can fold this part down like so. And then, ladies and gentlemen, here we have Ratbat back in his cassette mode. But for Perceptor's reverse transformation back to in his microscope mode, not his tank mode, it's relatively simple. So we're going to remove the gun here, and we are going to straighten him out, as I usually like to do when it comes to transforming any Transformers. And then from here, what we're going to do is we're going to take his head, we're going to come around here to the back, we are going to fold this out, and we are going to fold the head back in like so. Close this back up, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take the arms, we're going to rotate them outward, fold the hands back into their spots, like so, rotate them around like so, pull them down, take this section, fold it up once, rotate this up slightly, then you can rotate this up, and then what you'll notice is that there is a peg hole right there, and then that peg will slot right in like so, like that. And then what you'll do here on the side is you have that little peg here, then you have this little rivet right here. So when you do is you'll rotate this up, and then you'll just peg that right into place like so. Same thing here. So you have that little brown peg right there, then you have that little rivet right there. So same on the next side like that. And then from here, you just want to open the chest up, fold the microscope piece down. Then when it comes to the legs, fold them out, rotate this part around on the skirt. Then you want to fold it out at this joint right here. Fold the foot down. Same thing here. Rotate this around, rotate this out, rotate it at the joint, and then fold the foot down. And then all you have to do is sort of settle this in place. And, ladies and gentlemen, here we have the Transformers Studio Series 86 Deluxe Class Perceptor with Ramhorn and Ratbat back in his really cool looking microscope mode. And so, guys, for my final concluding thoughts on the Transformers Studio Series 86 Deluxe Class Perceptor with Ratbat as well as Ramhorn, this guy is a really solid set. I really do think that even though this is being sold for $35, which is a Voyager class price point, he is worth it because you have a deluxe figure that is worth about $25, and then each of the cassettes being worth about $5. I honestly think that that's a really good deal. In addition to that, it's not only that they repainted Perceptor and they gave him more cartoon accurate colors, they also improved a little bit on his actual visuals in terms of the physical appearance with the molding. They widened his chest a little bit, made it so it showed some red. They made the clear plastic instead just the solid plastic, or maybe it's just solid plastic, clear plastic painted over. But regardless, they made it more solid and they made it look more cartoon accurate by giving him a bit broader of a chest. And so I'm really, really happy with that. They also had a gap filler in on the back by covering that back up and having the head fold out of it instead of having just that open big space that he had before. And so that that is also a really nice improvement. And so I really do like this set, and I would honestly recommend it. And so out of a 10, funnily enough, guys, I'm going to give this a 9 because I really do think it's well done, because the original Perceptor figure was already good. They just made some actual genuine improvements in this set. And when we're talking about 35 bucks, this is really worth it. This isn't like that, like I said before, it's not like that Soundwave set where you're paying for a leader class price point for a Voyager class figure with 2 cassettes, and then that means both of those cassettes are supposed to be 10 bucks a piece. No, thank you. I'm good to go. I'd rather have this set, which is $35, comes with 2 cassettes, meaning the cassettes are worth 5 bucks, and then you actually have the physical molding improvements on this figure. So overall, I really do like how this figure is, and how it, how it represents in the set as a whole is represented in this this little line here that we have with Studio Series 86. And so I did pick mine up on Hasbro Pulse, so I'll leave a link in the description to that. I'll also leave a link in the description if I can find this on Amazon, but I think this is more or less a Pulse thing. So if I can only find it on Pulse, you'll see that link in the description below. Big Bad Toy Store doesn't have it, I don't think. Amazon, I'm not sure if we'll have it, so we will see, but you'll see links regardless down below. And so I thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please like, comment, rate, and subscribe. Share this video with your friends. Also follow me on the socials. Those will be linked in the description below. And with that, guys, and once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video review. I'll catch you all in the next one. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.